Dracula in Easy English, Chapter 1, Part 2. I soon forgot all ghostly fears. Ghostly means slightly frightening and seeming to be related to ghosts or spirits. So I soon forgot all ghostly fears because of the beauty of the places we were driving by. Although if I had known the language, or rather languages, which my fellow passengers were speaking, I might not have been able to forget about them so easily. Before us lay a green land full of forests and woods, little forests. Here and there were steep hills crowned with trees or with farmhouses. There was everywhere a surprising number of blossoming fruit trees. So to blossom, if trees blossom, they produce flowers. There was everywhere a surprising number of blossoming fruit trees, apple, plum, pear, cherry. And as we drove by, I could see the green grass under the trees covered with the fallen petals. In and out among these green hills of what they call here the Mittelland ran the road, losing itself as it went round the grassy curve, or was hidden by the ends of pine trees growing in all directions. The road was rough, but still we seemed to fly over it with a surprising speed. I could not understand then why we were in such a hurry. Okay, petals. A petal is one of the colored parts of a flower that are shaped like leaves. A curve, they went round the grassy curve. A curve is a line that gradually bends like a part of a circle. And in a hurry means more quickly than usual. So I couldn't understand then why we were in such a hurry. But the driver had obviously, clearly decided to reach Borgo Pass as soon as we possibly could. I was told that this road is excellent in summer, but that it had not yet been repaired after the winter snows. In this respect, in some respects, etc., that phrase is used to say that something is true in one way, in some ways, etc. So in this way, in this respect, it is different from most other roads in the Carpathians, because it is an old tradition that they are not to be kept in too good order. An order is a situation in which everything is controlled, well organized, and correctly arranged. So the roads were kept in a somewhat bad condition. Why? Well, here's why. In the old days, the hospodars, meaning the masters of the land, would not repair them, or the Turks could start thinking that they were preparing to bring in a foreign army, and so start the war, which was always hanging over them. It was always a possibility for them. It was always close. Beyond the green hills of the Mittelland rose large and impressive slopes of forest up to the tall and steep hills, the Carpathians themselves. So slopes, all right, it's easier to see. So these are slopes, right? Right and left of us they towered. It means they were taller than us, with the afternoon sun falling full upon them and helping us see all the wonderful colors of this beautiful mountain range. Deep blue and purple in the shadows of the peaks, green and brown where grass and rock met, and an endless perspective of rocks with sharp, pointed edges. perspective, a view, especially one in which you can see a long way into the distance. Here and there we saw waterfalls. One of my companions touched my arm as we went round the base of a hill and showed me the high snow-covered mountain which seemed to be right before us. "Look, ist den Eck, God's seat," and he crossed himself with great feeling. As we went up and up in circles, and the sun sank lower and lower behind us, the shadows of the evening began to appear all around us. This was emphasized by the fact that the snowy mountaintop was still lit by the sunset and seemed to glow out with a cool pink. Here and there we passed Czechs and Slovaks, all in usual clothes. By the roadside, close to the road, were many crosses, and as we went past them, my companions all crossed themselves. Here and there was a peasant man or woman standing on their knees before a holy place, so he's referring to those crosses, who did not even turn round as we came closer, but seemed so deep in prayer that they did not notice the outer world, meaning the world around them. There were many things new to me. For instance, hay. It's dry grass that is given to horses and cows, etc. For instance, hay stored for a time in the trees. And here and there were beautiful birch trees with white stems shining like silver and delicate green leaves. Here are birch trees in this picture. Now and again we passed peasants' carts built specially for these rough roads, bad roads. On them usually was a group of peasants. In the evening it began to get very cold, dark and foggy as we came up to the pass, and the trees were dark against the snow. Sometimes when we were going through the pine woods, dark, gray and solemn, my thoughts returned to frightening thoughts that came to me earlier in the evening. Then the falling sunset added ghost-like clouds, meaning clouds that looked like ghosts, so ghost-like clouds to the scene. And the scene is a view of a place as you see it, which moved, so those ghost-like clouds moved through the valleys without stopping. And what is a valley? Is an area of lower land between two lines of hills or mountains, usually with a river flowing through it. Sometimes the mountain road was so difficult that even though our driver was in a hurry, the horses could only go slowly. I wanted to get down and walk a little to help the horses, as we do at home, but the driver said no. "You must not walk here," he said. "The dogs are too aggressive." And then he added a joke. I knew it was a joke because he looked round to catch the smile of the rest. "I think you will have enough of such things before you go to sleep." And then we continued our journey in a hurry, and the only stop the driver made was a short pause to light his lamps. When it grew dark, there seemed to be some excitement among the passengers. Excitement, the state of feeling or showing happiness and enthusiasm, or fear, and they were uneasy about the situation. So some excitement among the passengers, and they all spoke to the driver one after the other as though asking him to go even faster. He hit the horses unmercifully, without mercy, so he wasn't feeling sorry for the horses as he was hitting them in this situation, with his long whip, and shouted at them wildly. Okay. Oh yes, I have a definition of whip here. A long, thin piece of rope or leather attached to a handle, used for hitting animals or people to make them move, or move faster, or as a punishment. So he hit them and shouted at them wildly. Then, through the darkness, I could see a sort of patch of grey light ahead of us, as though there was an opening in the hills. The excitement of the passengers grew greater. The crazy coach moved from side to side like a boat on a stormy sea. I had to hold on. To have your hands or arms tightly around something. So he was afraid to fall from that carriage. The road became better, and we almost flew along. Then the mountains seemed to come near to us on each side and to look down upon us. We were entering on the Borgo Pass. One by one, several of the passengers offered me gifts and made me accept them. These were certainly all strange and different, but each was given in simple good faith, with kind words and a blessing, and those strange gestures showing fear which I had seen outside the hotel at Bistritz, the sign of the cross and the guard against the evil eye. And a blessing is probably also a difficult word. A blessing is a word or a phrase in which you ask God to help and protect and do good to some person. Then, as we flew along, the driver leaned forward, to move or bend your body in a particular direction. So the driver leaned forward, and on each side, the passengers stretching over the edge of the coach looked into the darkness. It was clear that something very exciting was either happening or expected. But though I asked each passenger, no one wanted to give me the smallest explanation. This state of excitement continued for some little time, and at last we saw before us the pass opening out on the eastern side. There were dark clouds overhead, and in the air the heavy sense of thunder. Thunder, the loud noise that you hear during a storm, usually after a flash of lightning. It seemed as though the mountain range had separated two atmospheres, and that now we had got into the thunderous one. I was now myself looking out for the vehicle which was going to take me to the Count, and the vehicle, here it means the carriage. Each moment I expected to see the light of lamps through the blackness, but all was dark. The only light was coming from our own lamps, in which the steam from our tired horses rose in a white cloud. Steam, the hot gas that water changes into when it boils. We could see now the sandy road lying white before us, but there was on it no sign of a vehicle. The passengers returned to their seats with gladness, which seemed to make fun of my own disappointment. Disappointment, a feeling of unhappiness because something is not as good as you expected or has not happened in the way you hoped. I was already thinking what to do when the driver, looking at his watch, said to the others something which I could hardly hear. So he couldn't hear it very well. It was spoken so quietly. It was spoken so quietly and in such a low tone. I thought it was an hour less than the time. Then turning to me, he said in German worse than my own, "There is no carriage here. The Herr is not expected after all. He will come on to Bukavina and return tomorrow or the next day, better the next day." While he was speaking, the horses began to neigh, to make sounds, showing their fear, so that the driver had to hold them up. Then, among screams, cries from the peasants, and a universal crossing of themselves, a calash with 4 horses drove up behind us. Calash is a 2-wheeled horse-drawn vehicle. Here's a picture. So a calash with 4 horses drove up behind us, overtook us. To overtake is to go past a moving vehicle or person because you're going faster than them and want to get in front of them. Overtook us and stopped beside the coach. I could see in the light of our lamps that the horses were coal black, absolutely black, and excellent animals. They were driven by a tall man with a long brown beard and a great black hat, which seemed to hide his face from us. I could only see a pair of very bright eyes, which seemed red in the lamplight as he turned to us. He said to the driver, "You're early tonight, my friend." The man stammered in reply. To stammer is to speak with a lot of pauses and repeated sounds. "The English Herr was in a hurry." To which the stranger replied, "That is why, I suppose, you wished him to go on to Bukavina. You cannot deceive me, my friend. He cannot lie to me. I know too much, and my horses are fast." As he spoke, he smiled, and the lamplight fell on a hard-looking mouth with very red lips and sharp-looking teeth as white as ivory. One of my companions spoke in a very, very low voice, whispered to another the line from Burger's Lenore, "For the dead travel fast." I could see that the strange driver heard the words because he looked up with a big smile. The passenger turned his face away, at the same time putting out his 2 fingers and crossing himself. "Give me the Herr's luggage," said the driver, and my bags were handed out and put into the calash very fast. To give something to someone else with your hand. Then I came down from the side of the coach, and the driver helped me with a hand which caught my arm in a grip of steel. Grip, the way you hold something tightly. His strength must have been great indeed. Without a word, he made the horses turn, and we quickly disappeared into the darkness of the pass. When I looked back, I saw the steam from the horses of the coach by the light of the lamps, and the figures of my former fellow passengers, ex-fellow passengers, crossing themselves. Then the driver cracked his whip and called to his horses, and off they went on their way to Bukavina. this is the end of the second part of chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you in the third part of chapter 1. And if you would like to do some exercises connected with the bits from the book that we just read, come to easyenglishbook.club. And with every bit of reading that we do here, there are some exercises so to practice your English a little bit further. So come and check them out. So this would be word practice in this case. That's all for me for now. Thank you and goodbye.